Improvement pill here. Society tells us that comfort is good, that our lives should be as comfortable as possible. But this is actually a lie. The secret to becoming stronger and happier is to get more comfortable with discomfort. Now, we get this idea from the Stoics, ancient philosophers whose ideas people should know more about. In this video, we'll be diving into what they can teach us about discomfort and living a good life. Let's jump in. First, what is Stoicism? Stoicism is an ancient Greek philosophy or way of living founded over 2,000 years ago. Its main message is pretty simple. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, believed that the only thing we really control is our minds. Now, rather than letting the ups and downs of life stress them out, they focused on what they had control over: their thoughts, emotions, and actions. If something went wrong, they would ask, "What can I do about this?" And if the answer was nothing, they'd let it go. The Stoics focused on things like self-discipline, courage, and wisdom to stay calm and level-headed, even in tough times. They teach us how to find peace and purpose in our lives. The comfort trap. For many of us today, and probably you, life is very comfortable, and it's getting more and more like this. I mean, think about it. Most of us don't work physical jobs, and many of us even work from home in our sweatpants. Our chairs are getting softer, our beds are getting more comfortable, food is getting faster and more convenient. You can get anything delivered right to your doorstep with a few taps on your cell phone. We barely need to even get up from our sofas anymore. We might think this is a good thing, and obviously it is to some degree. Life used to be very difficult. We should be grateful that we live in a world with central heating, electricity, and refrigerators. But you see, living such comfortable lives also makes us physically and mentally weak. Too much comfort is making us sick. It's causing many of the problems we face today as a society. To escape the comfort trap, we need to embrace discomfort. Why the Stoics embraced discomfort? Even 2,000 years ago, when life was harder, the Stoics knew about the dangers of too much comfort. Imagine what they'd think about our world today. They embraced discomfort for 3 reasons. 1, the Stoics believed discomfort made us mentally and physically stronger. Now, we only improve when put to the test, just like muscles. And as long as we don't push too far, we need to be pushed to our limits to level up. There's a reason people say diamonds are made under pressure. In the modern world, we have the option of lying around all day and never putting ourselves in difficult situations. But the Stoics recognized this made us soft and weak, easily defeated by the smallest obstacle. Marcus Aurelius, one of the best-known Stoics, was a Roman emperor. Now imagine that. He could have lived more luxurious than anyone alive at the time, but he didn't. He would sleep on the floor instead of his large, comfortable palace bed to keep his body tough and his mind sharp. And he'd also wrestle and box for the same purpose. 2, the Stoics believed that avoiding too much comfort helped prepare them in case times got tough. Now, if we pretended our lives are challenging, even when they aren't, we'll be much less afraid of our lives taking a turn in the wrong direction, if this is what fate decides. No one is immune from tragedy. The worst can happen to the best of us. Seneca was another famous Stoic. He was rich, like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk rich. But this didn't go to his head. He would frequently practice being much poorer and living a much more difficult life so that he wasn't scared of things going wrong. This gave him an advantage. He wasn't afraid of taking risks because he was scared they'd backfire. Seneca wrote, "We should prepare for adversity amidst the favors of fortune. Such practices of endurance will help us realize we can make do with very little. Vagaries of fortune won't affect us." Even though Seneca could have had anything he wanted, we know from stories told about him that he would walk the streets of Rome wearing rags in front of people he knew, or spend days or weeks eating only plain oatmeal. He knew that if his fortunes changed and rags and oatmeal were all he could afford, he'd be fine. He'd already practiced. 3, the Stoics knew that taking on discomfort voluntarily helps make us much more grateful for whatever comforts we are lucky enough to have. Now, we humans often only appreciate something when it's gone, and we all know what that's like. A glass of water tastes much better after a day in the heat without any. The bed we sleep on every night is much more comfortable after a week of camping. These practices help us avoid what modern psychologists call hedonic adaptation, or the hedonic treadmill. Hedonic adaptation is what happens when we get used to the things in life and they become invisible. We think that getting a big promotion or a new car will make us happy, and they might, for a moment. After the high is gone, we generally go back to being as happy as we were before. Then we're looking for the next thing to give us the same momentary boost. And it goes on. Now, voluntary discomfort throws us off the hedonic treadmill. It resets our brains so that we're again able to enjoy and appreciate things that used to bring us happiness, but that we now take for granted, like TV, smartphones, tasty food, a comfy chair, or even a Netflix subscription. Getting uncomfortable in the modern world. The Stoics lived thousands of years ago, but we can apply what they did to our lives today. And we don't need to walk around in rags or sleep on the floor. We can get physically uncomfortable by exercising, taking cold showers, or fasting, even if only during certain parts of the day. All will improve our health and resilience. If you really want to push yourself out of your comfort zone, you can do what author Michael Easter proposes in his book, The Comfort Crisis, and set yourself a physical challenge that you have a 50% chance of achieving. Definitely not easy, but not impossible. The challenge will depend on you. If you're a good runner, running a marathon without much training might be your challenge. If you've never run at all, finishing a 5K race might be yours. We can get mentally uncomfortable by not shying away from challenging projects and learning skills, taking on difficult tasks at work, or trying to achieve goals we wouldn't usually aim for. It's important to test yourself mentally. The brain is like a muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. Studies even show that the more we continue learning, the slower our brains age, and the less likely we are to develop brain-related diseases like Alzheimer's. Last, we can get socially or emotionally uncomfortable. For many of us, this is the hardest. We often avoid difficult conversations with people in our lives, don't tell them how we really feel, or never risk doing things we think might make people think badly of us. As the French philosopher Sartre said, "Hell is other people." But this can be where there is the most potential for growth. The quality of our lives is mostly determined by the quality of our relationships with others, and learning to be calm and comfortable in social interactions is essential if we want to get better at making new connections. We could tell a friend or family member something we've been keeping to ourselves for a while, we challenge ourselves to talk more to strangers, or we can follow Seneca and not walk around town in rags, but instead wearing a bright neon shirt or a strange hat or anything that will draw attention to us. Any social discomfort challenge, like lying on the floor or dancing around in public, will have the same effect. If we can get comfortable with strangers staring and not care what they think, we'll be more confident and won't get anxious when interacting with people as much in the rest of our lives. There you have it, using Stoicism to improve our lives through discomfort. If you try some of the techniques we've looked at in this video, let me know in the comments down below. And remember, life begins at the edge of your comfort zone. I'll see you in the next one.